Oh, hi there, friends. I'm in the beautiful plains of Africa. I'm trying to spot a hippo. You know, those huge, beautiful creatures, big heads and short legs and tails. Did you know hippos spend lots of their time in the water, but they can't actually swim? They stay shallow enough to touch the floor. Oh, I think I just heard one. That reminds me, we have a special story request. Dear Lucy, my twin boys, Silius and Ezra, and their older brother Asha would love to hear a story about 3 hippos named Hippy, Scratchy, and Stinky sneaking onto a rocket ship and going to the moon. Wait, did they just say hippos on the moon? You may not know this, but hippopotamuses are very busy at night. They spend their days lazing around in the water and lounging in the mud. But at nighttime, the hippos like to come out onto the land. Underneath the stars, they munch on grass, filling their big, round stomachs with as much as they can find. There were 3 hippo brothers that just loved this time of day, not just because they were chomping down food, but because they regularly got to see something pretty special, the moon. The oldest brother was called Hippy. Like lots of older brothers, he could be a little bossy, but he always tried to be helpful. The second and third brothers were twins, Scratchy and Stinky. They were a curious pair, always asking their older brother all kinds of questions, just like they were tonight. "Hippy," asked Scratchy, "who lives on the moon?"
I don't know,
replied Hippy before taking another mouthful of grass. "Hippy," asked Stinky, "is there grass on the moon?"
I don't know,
answered Hippy after swallowing his mouthful.
"Hippy,"
asked Scratchy,
"are there rivers on the moon?"
I don't know,
admitted Hippy as he looked up into the sky.
"Hippy,"
asked Stinky,
"can we go to the moon?"
Hippy didn't answer right away. He was staring at the full moon as it shone down upon them.
"Oh, I've heard that humans have been to the moon,"
he said thoughtfully.
"but I'm not sure if a hippo has ever been there."
He turned to see Scratchy and Stinky.
"Maybe we could be the first."
"Yeah!"
cheered Stinky.
"But how do we get there?"
wondered Scratchy out loud.
"In a rocket,"
said Hippy, all matter-of-factly.
"A rocket?"
said the twins together. They never heard of such a thing. And so the 3 brothers set off to find one. The 3 hippos walked for mile upon mile, kilometer upon kilometer, over hills, across valleys, and through rainforests, until at long last they arrived at a spaceport. There, before them, on a wide launch pad, stood a tall rocket.
"Oh, is that a rocket?"
asked Scratchy eagerly.
"Huh, yes, that's it,"
said Hippy confidently, although, if truth were told, he wasn't really sure, having only ever heard stories about them.
"Hippy,"
said Stinky,
"how does it get to the moon? Does it flap wings like a bird?"
"No,"
said Hippy.
"I was told a rocket shoots fire out of its bottom."
The thought of the fiery-bottomed rocket caused the twins to fall about with laughter. This made Hippy pull a grumpy face. After all, he was only repeating what he'd been told. Once Scratchy and Stinky had calmed down, Hippy decided they needed to get closer. There were lots of people about, inspecting things and carrying things, and generally looking very clever. As the hippos began to move in a loud voice, there could be heard someone saying,
20 minutes to blast off."
On hearing this, all the people began to move away, leaving the launch pad completely empty.
"Hippy,"
said Scratchy,
"where did everyone go?"
I don't know,"
replied Hippy.
"Maybe they're not interested in watching a rocket take off."
At the base of the rocket was a walkway just wide enough for the 3 young hippos to fit on. This walkway carried them up to an open door on the rocket side. No sooner had the 3 hippos stepped inside than the door began to make a loud bleeping sound as it slowly closed.
Hippy,
Asked Stinky.
are we there yet?
I don't think so,
Answered Hippy.
I think we have to take off first.
Hippy,
Asked Scratchy.
what's a takeoff?
Well,
Began Hippy.
that's the bit with the fiery bottom.
This started the twins laughing again, which soon stopped when they heard a voice saying, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The rocket began to shake while a deafening noise boomed all around them.
Hippy,
Asked Stinky with a worried voice.
what's happening?
Said Hippy.
I think we're on our way to the moon.
The 3 brothers held on to one another as the rocket shook all around them. They were surrounded by crates and barrels, all strapped down so that they couldn't move about. And then, as if by magic, the shaking and noise stopped, and all 3 of the heavy hippopotamuses began to float.
Hippy,
Asked Scratchy.
what's happening?
I don't know,
Said Hippy.
but it's fun, isn't it?
They began bouncing off the walls and strapped down crates, flying through the cabin like superheroes. Stinky paused for breath.
Hippy,
He asked.
are we there yet?
I don't know,
Said Hippy.
When we're eating grass, the moon doesn't look very far away. I'm sure it won't be long now.
Actually, the moon is much further away than you might think. So by the time the rocket came to land on the surface, Hippy, Scratchy, and Stinky were all fast asleep. The first they knew about it was when they heard the bump of the rocket touching down.
Hippy,
Asked Scratchy.
how do we get out of here?
I'm not sure.
Replied Hippy. He'd never had to use a door before, but they didn't need to worry for long because the door started bleeping again and with a hiss opened wide. In rolled a robot on wheels with 2 strong mechanical arms. It unclipped the straps on the first set of crates, picked one up, and left again. The 3 hippos decided to follow. They followed the robot down a snaking tunnel before arriving beneath an enormous glass dome that reached up high above their heads. The robot put down its crate on the back of a small truck, then returned for another, while the 3 brothers took in the view before them. All around the edges of the dome were small domed houses and square buildings, while in the middle was a wide covering of green grass and trees with a narrow river running through the center. Feeling hungry, Hippy, Scratchy, and Stinky wandered out onto the grass and began to eat. However, this time, when they looked up, it wasn't the moon they saw.
Hippy,
Asked Stinky.
what's that in the sky?
Said Hippy.
I'm going to have a guess that that's planet Earth. It's where we've come from.
And you know what? Hippy was right. Once they'd eaten enough, the 3 brothers walked to the river and climbed into the cool water for a snooze. And that's exactly where the people of the moon base found them. To this day, not a single person has been able to explain how 3 hippopotamuses appeared on the moon. It has caused a great deal of head scratching, but luckily, nobody seemed to mind, not even a little bit. So when you next look up at the moon, see if you can spot them. Look for 3 hippos peering down on you as you look up at them. The end.
So that you don't miss a single episode, just click that subscribe button.